Hey guys, and welcome to part 2 of our cute little penguin square. Today we are going to go over how to make all the little appliques. So that includes the belly, the scarf, the beak, the eyes, and the hat. Exciting, I know. Okay, let's get started. By the way, I know I had said I was going to go over how to sew these little parts down, but I realize in order to make the hat, I still need some kind of workable access to the head. So we're just going to wait a little bit longer before we start kind of pinning down some of these parts here. So in the meantime, let's get started on our belly. So we're using here Bernat premium yarn, and it is called White Sparkle, and it's really pretty. The camera can't quite pick it up, but there's this cute little sparkle aspect to it. So in the meantime, we're going to grab our end here and we're going to get started. Okay, we are going to begin with a slip knot. And then we are going to begin by chaining 6. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we have a nice comfortable chain there. Now in the 4th chain from the hook, we're going to do a double crochet. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the 4th chain. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook there, and then double crochet. Okay, so it looks like this. Now technically we have 2 double crochets here because the chain 3 counts as 1. So we are now going to double crochet 2 more times into this stitch. So we have pulling through 2, pulling through 2, and 1 more, pull through 2, and pull through 2. So we now have 4 stitches in this one stitch here, and you can see it's creating a little bit of a ridge, which is what we want. I didn't start with the magic ring because the belly is actually a little bit more of an oval shape. So we want to kind of create a little curvature but a little bit of length as well, and that's why I started with those chains. So now we are going to double crochet 1 double crochet into the next stitch. So that's kind of the center of our oval there. Oops. Sometimes you got to watch you don't split your yarn. That's 1 double crochet. Now we have the last stitch of this chain, and we're going to double crochet 4 double crochets into this stitch. So we yarn over, insert your hook, if I can find it, pull through 2, pull through 2. So we need to do 3 more of these. That's 2. That is 3. And we need to do 1 more. And as you can see, it's really creating a nice curve around the edge here. So I'm just going to ignore that little tail for now. Now we're coming up around to the bottom edge there, and what we're going to do is into the next stitch, which is actually, if you can see that stitch there, this is the bottom of the individual double crochet that we inserted into a stitch. We are going to insert another individual double crochet into that one. So now it's going to really help round out our oval. So we'll insert our hook, pull through 2, and pull through 2. So you can see how that's really coming up around there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to find the top of our chain 3 here, and we're actually just going to slip stitch to cinch off our oval. So now you've got a shape that looks like that, a rounded shape. So that is round 1 of our belly. So now and in total, don't forget you have to count your stitches. You should have 10 stitches in total going all the way around. Okay, so make sure if you need to stop or pause here and count, make sure you count because it's important to maintain the proper stitch count so as not to confuse things later on. Okay, for the second round, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to do 2 double crochets in each stitch around. So we're just doing a typical increase like we would do in a circle. So I'm going to yarn over and I am going to insert my hook right into this same stitch here at the bottom of that. Chain 3, pull through and pull through 2 because I like keeping them close together. So those are 2. In the next stitch I'm going to do another 2 double crochets, pull through, yarn over, that's 1, insert, that's 2. So you see there? So we're going to do 2 double crochets in each stitch all the way around. This should give you 20 stitches. So go ahead and do that and I'll meet you at the end. We now have 20 stitches going all the way around in a circular fashion, although it's much more of an oval than it is a full circle. We are going to do one more round. This is also going to be an increase round. And this time, of course, we're going to start by chaining 3. This time the pattern is to do 2 double crochets in one stitch and 1 double crochet in the next. 2 in the next, 1 in the next, 2, 1, 2, 1, all the way around until you have 30 stitches in total. So for this one, I'm going to start off right away by doing 2 in my first one because I like to keep that first stitch nice and tight. So there we go. So they're nice and close together. In the next stitch, I'm going to do a single crochet. So right in that stitch there. Sorry, it's a double crochet, but it's one singular on its own. I keep getting those terms confused. Okay, so in the next stitch, which is right there, we're going to do 2 double crochets. So there's 1. And there is 2. So I'll do that again. In the next stitch, we're only doing 1 double crochet. And then in the next stitch, we're going to do 2 double crochets. So, and we do 1 more in the same stitch. Okay, so you can see that's really starting to take shape there. So remember, it's 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, etc. So I'll meet you at the end, and remember, you should have 30 stitches in total. Okay, see you at the end. I am now at the end of my 3rd row. I've done my pattern of 2 double crochets in one, 1 double crochet in the next, and I'm ready to slip stitch. So I'm just looking for the top of my chain 3 here. I'm going to insert my hook and pull through 2 and slip stitch, and there is my belly. So I'm just going to fasten off. Now remember, when you are making appliques, you want to always make sure to leave a bit of a longish tail so that you can sew them in to your project. So I'm just going to snip that off there and fasten off. So see, it's round, but it's not a perfect circle. Okay, so if we take our little guy here, and now we kind of put that there, you can see that it's not perfectly circular. It just has a little suggestion of an oval, which is what we like. So he is going to go there. Okay, next up we are going to do the scarf. So we're going to do all the appliques first, and then we're going to talk about how to sew them on. So we're going to put our belly aside. And with our scarf, I thought we would use a dark blue color for a little bit of contrast on him here. Okay, so we are using an impeccable yarn here. And this is Loops and Threads again, and the color is Royal Blue. It's a really nice blue color, dark blue. Okay, so we're gonna get started here, and for the scarf, and actually I made another one here. So see the scarf, what we have to do, we have to create a band across and then a section that looks like the scarf's been looped over, and then a little bit of a drape here. And I'm gonna show you how we're gonna do that, okay? So, actually just for reference so you can see it on him, so you can see how the scarf comes across, he has a little loop, and then it drapes on the side. So, okay, we are going to begin with a slip knot. And we are now going to chain 14. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So you're going to have a chain that looks like that. Okay. And now in the third chain from the hook, we're going to do a double crochet. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's that chain right there. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook, okay, and we're going to do 1 double crochet. Okay. Now we're going to do 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way across, and you should end up with 11 stitches in total. So I'm just going to do another one with you. Insert into the next chain there, pull through 2 and pull through 2, and again yarn over into the next stitch, the next chain, pull through, yarn over 2, pull through, and pull through 2. Okay, so you're going to do that all the way till you get to the last chain there, and then I'll meet you up at the end. You now have 11 stitches going across, so you have 11 double crochets here. Now you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and what we're going to do is we're going to do 1 double crochet into the bottom of this chain 3. So if you look really closely, see how that's the bottom right there of the chain 3? You are going to double crochet. It's a very similar technique to how we would do a picot stitch too. You're going to do a double crochet into there. So that creates 2. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 double crochets along the side of this last double crochet of the row. So see how that's a double crochet there. We are going to double crochet into the side of that stitch, and you just kind of want to pick up any loop you can to just create a base. So that's 1, and now we're going to do another one. And in fact, there's a little spacing right there for me. So see how that's creating a little bit of a ridge. So now we've got 4 double crochets in total, and now we're going to slip stitch into the bottom of this last double crochet. So we're just going to insert our hook, pull through, and pull through. So now that's created a little bit of a bobble there. If you notice, that's a little bit of a rounded edge and a bubble. So now we're at the bottom portion of our little flyaway scarf. So now what we're going to do is we are going to chain 8 to create the little the draping here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and what you're going to do now is you're going to double crochet into the third chain from the hook. So we're going to find the third chain, 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull through 2, and pull through 2. And what we're going to do now is we're going to double crochet into each of these chains until we meet back up to here. Okay, so I'm going to do one more with you. Insert your hook, double crochet, and again, next stitch, double crochet. Okay, and you're going to do that till we get back, and I will meet you there. I'm just at the end of this second little draping here. I have one more double crochet to go, so I'm going to go into that chain. And so what this does is it brings me back up to the top of my scarf. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the base of that last double crochet here on this row, and I'm going to slip stitch into that. So that's going to be right about there, which is where I slip stitched from before, that little bobble area. So I'm just going to insert my hook, pull through all 2 of these. So now I've created a little bit of a flyaway, which is what we want. Let me just take that loop out of the way. So we want the scarf to sit across the neck, looped at the side, and kind of a little bit draping outward. So again, when we take our guy and place, get the belly out of the way. So when we place it here, it's going to sit nicely around his neck. Okay, you've got the little loop on the end, and see the little flyaway draping. We want it to kind of match the curvature, the line of his wing there. And it'll also be out of the way, just sitting beside his belly. So there you go. So that's the scarf. We're now moving on to the penguin's beak. This is short and sweet. Sometimes it can be a little tricky because when you're working into smaller appliques, sometimes things get a little tight. So for now, I am still using my size 5 hook, but when we start working on the eyes, I am going to change to a slightly smaller hook, which it'll be a 4.5. So we are going to chain 6 here. I'm sorry, we're going to start with a slip knot. We're going to chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My tension's a little tighter, but it's not too tight. Okay, so I have 6 chains. Now in the 4th chain from the hook, I'm going to do 1 double crochet. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, insert my hook, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So it's creating a little bit of a side here. In the next stitch, we're going to do a half double crochet. So we're going to insert our hook, pull through, yarn over. We're going to pull through all 3 of those loops. So it's just a little shorter than a double crochet. And in the last stitch here, we're going to do a single crochet. So we're just going to insert right away, yarn over, and pull through. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in to that same stitch, and I'm going to slip stitch. So that just kind of helps to solidify a little bit of a point there. So if you turn this upside down, you've got this neat, sorry, that's yellow on yellow. So my beak goes there. So I'm just going to fasten this off so you get it better. Okay. So I'm just going to fasten off, and in fact what I'll probably do is just tie these together to create more of a point. There we go. So now when you turn him around, and we're going to place it, see this ridge here where his head is? I'm just going to place that there. and that is his beak. Okay, but we're going to wait to do all the appliques, and then we're going to take it from there. So if you were to kind of experiment to see how this is going to start looking, you would place the belly first. Oops. Then you've got the scarf. Okay. And then you would place the beak slightly over the scarf there. So you have that look. But we will get to that when we are sewing everything in. Next up, we are working on the eyes. So it's a very small piece here. I've already done one of them. And we are going to use, again, our sparkly white yarn. Okay. And for this, I'm actually going to go down a hook size. I'm going to go down to a 4.5 millimeter hook, just to make them a little bit tighter, the stitches. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a magic circle, and I'm going to, oops, so magic circle, and then I'm going to chain 1, and now I'm going to do a single crochet into the magic circle. So that should count as 2 because we did the chain 1. And now I'm going to do 4 more single crochets into this circle. So I'm just going to insert my hook, pull through, insert my hook, pull through 2. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I just want to double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is on the end. So now that I have 6 single crochets in the circle, I'm going to cinch my circle shut. So see how tight that gets? Okay, and now we're going to find that single chain, and we're going to insert our hook and slip stitch. And that is our little eye. Okay, so that's going to match this little guy here. So again, see, they are very tight, very, well, not tiny, but they're tight. So you don't want the eyes to be too big on this body, otherwise it will create a different look. So I'm just going to fasten off. I'll just pull this through here. Okay, then I'll weave this guy into the end, and then I'll use this tail to sew it in. So as you can see here, not too crazy big. The eyes have to sit nicely there by the beak. Okay, here we go. Lastly, we are going to work on the hat. So this one was done in a light blue. I'm going to do a dark blue. And in fact, on our other little guy here, I did the hat here. Now, keep in mind that this particular yarn I was using, the black, was a much finer yarn. So the hat came out a little bit tighter on the head. So you can see with this one, slightly looser and wider on the head. So, you know, it's just a slightly different look, but still looks cute. So I ended up doing a little ridge here, which I kind of liked on the hat. So we are going to do it with this guy here. So I'm going to get my dark blue yarn again. And we are going to, we are going to actually work this one right into our penguin. So what we're going to do is we're going to find, actually first I should start off with a slip knot. Oops, sorry, wrong hook. Back to my size 5. We have a slip knot here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the 4th loop from the base here on the right. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. Into that 4th stitch, I want to do a slip stitch. Now here's the thing, we are going to work in the back loops of this little guy here. So we're not going to go in the front here, we're actually going to go right into the back loop there. Okay, so again, we count 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to insert my hook into the back loop, and I'm just going to do a slip stitch to secure. Oops, there we go. Okay, now I'm going to chain 1, and what I'm going to do is I am going to do a single crochet in each of the next 9 stitches. So that should give me 10 stitches in total. So I'm just going to insert my hook into the back loop of the next stitch, and I'm going to do a single crochet, insert into the back loop of the next stitch, single crochet, back loop, back loop again. So you see why I didn't want to sew this part down yet, because you really need to be able to hold on to it. So do that so that you'll have 10 stitches, and I will meet you at the end. We now have 10 single crochets going across the ridge, the top of the head here. Again, all in the back loops, so you're going to have a little bit of a ridge going in the front here. You'll notice too that it's a little bit offset to the side. I did that on purpose, so it looks like the toque there is just slightly off center, off to the side. So now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, and we're going to turn our work here. So I'm just folding this in. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do a decrease stitch. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to insert your hook into the same stitch you just came out of. So in the bottom of that chain 1. A lot of times you would go right into the next one, but I like to go right in here. I'm going to pull through like a regular single crochet, but I'm not going to resolve this stitch by yarning over and pulling through. I'm going to go into the next stitch, insert my hook, pull through. So now I have 3 loops on the hook. Now I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. So what that does is that brings 2 stitches into 1 loop there. And that's why we call it a decrease stitch, because it decreases 2 individual stitches down to 1. Okay, so we've done a decrease stitch, and now we're going to do a single crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now you're going to have 2 stitches left, and guess what? We are going to do another decrease. Okay, so you're going to insert into the next, oh, this one's a little bit tight there, into the next stitch, pull through. Now this one's going to be tricky because it's the chain 1. And that's why you have to be careful sometimes. If you pull too tightly, then it's going to mess you up, which it has done for me. But I think I'm getting it through there. There we go. Sheesh. Pull through 3 loops, and now you're going to pull through all 3. So why are we doing a decrease on each end? If we decrease on each end, it starts kind of bringing our work inwards. So that's what creates this triangular look there. Okay, so now at the end of row 2, you're going to have 8 stitches in total. So make sure you count 8 stitches so that we're still on the right track. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I am going to chain 1, turn again, and I am going to decrease again. So I'm going to insert into the base of that, chain 1, pull through, The next stitch, I'm going to insert, pull through, so I have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Okay, so now I've decreased there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So hopefully you can see that okay. I know the dark blue sometimes gets to be tricky. So we have 1 single crochet, 2, 3, oops, 4. Okay, that leaves us with 2 loops at the end, and we're going to do a decrease here. So we insert, pull through, insert, pull through, and now we yarn over and pull through all 3. So again, you're starting to see it kind of pinch in at the sides here. Okay, we are going to chain 1 and turn over again. Okay, so we are going to decrease again at the beginning, at the base here, pull through, insert, pull through. So that's 2 stitches. We are decreasing to 1. And now we are going to do 2 single crochets. 1, 2, and now we're going to decrease the next 2 and pull through. So see, it's really starting to, kind of pinch in. Okay, chain 1 and turn again. So we are going to decrease, pull through. Now we only have 2 stitches left, so we're just going to decrease again. Insert. There we go. So it's really starting to pinch in now. Chain 1, turn again. Last row here, there's only 2 stitches, so we're just going to do a decrease. Insert, insert again, pull through all 3. So see how it's created a little bit of a peak there? Now, we're going to just do a little finishing edge here. So we are going to chain 1, okay? And now what I would like to do is I want to slip stitch down the side of these rows here. It may be a little kind of funny to see where to go, but if you can just find a spot to insert your hook, like for example, I see a little spacing here. I'm just going to insert my hook and slip stitch, keeping it a little bit loose because I still want to keep this little pointy bit at the top. And then in the next little spot here, if I can find a little area to insert my hook, there we go, pull through and slip stitch there. So it's just starting to smooth out my edge there. So I'm going to go, so here I have a nice little spot there. I'm going to insert there, pull through, oops, sorry, I'm going to do that again. Pull through, there we go. And another little spot here. I'm going to pull through, that's it. And I think one more down at the bottom here. And I'm going to pull through. So there we go. So it just gave it a nice little smoothed out edge. I think in total I did I can't even count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it looks like. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually slip stitch into this back loop here. See how that's stretched out? These are the back loops. So I'm going to slip stitch into that. Okay, and now I'm going to turn my work. So we're back down at the bottom. Oops. So we've got this cute little hat going on here. But see this ridge here? I want to create a rim for this hat. So what I'm going to do is I'm not necessarily going to chain 1. I'm just going to stretch this out a little bit, and I'm going to go into the front loop here. Okay, so there's a loop right here. So this first one might be tricky. I'm going to insert my hook, pull through, and I'm going to do a single crochet. Okay, now I'm going to go into the next front loop, insert my hook, and single crochet. So I'm going to do that all the way across the front here until I get to the edge of my hat, which is coming up very shortly. Okay, the next front loop, and then in this last one here, see where this one is the back loop, I am just going to slip stitch. Right there. So see how it creates a funky little ridge? Now, don't worry about this because really it's going to sit like that. So it just looks like he's got this cute little brim on his hat. Okay, and then remember to leave a little bit of a longer tail and snip off your yarn and fasten off. And there is your hat for this guy. So if you lay this flat, okay, if you lay that flat like that, there he is. There is our cute little penguin body on his background. Let me just bring this up a bit so I can see. There we go. That's it. So here we go. We've got the background done, the square done. We've got the body. We've now got the hat on. Okay. So then at this point, we could start to lightly fasten down our kind of loosey bits here. And then we can slowly start placing our other appliques on here. So we've got the belly. So this is the order I like to do it in. So we're layering it. We've got the belly. Then we're adding our scarf just around the neck area there. So see how the belly just rests up against the tail of the scarf. Next, I have the beak, and I do the beak next because I like the tip of his nose to be resting just over the scarf a little bit. Whoops. Okay. And so the top of the beak, I would rest, see how that shell created a ridge there? I would just put it just slightly under that ridge there. That's how I would start to sew it on. And then if I can find my eyes, then I would take my eyes, find a nice place for them. Now, some people like to kind of put them really close together. Some people like them further apart. Totally up to you. I kind of still don't know which way I like it. I think the first one I did, yeah, I had separated the eyes a little bit. I think I like that, the eyes a little further out. And then you've got your little hat there. So it's just kind of peeking over the border. And that's another reason why I ended up making this square a little bit larger, is because I didn't want the penguin himself to actually interrupt another square. So I wanted it to be within his own little domain. I could have made him a little smaller, but I like this idea, especially if you're doing it for a kid's blanket or a pillow or something. It's nice to have a good size. So there you have it. And next up, we are going to actually sew them all in. We are ready to start sewing down our appliques. So I'm just going to do the belly here with you just to kind of give you the feel of how you would go about sewing these down. And it is a little different than just sewing because you want to try and not actually have any stitches coming through the end because you want your back to still look nice and even. Okay, so we will start with the belly, because that's the order I have layered them in. So I would do the belly, I would then do the scarf, okay, and then I would layer the beak after that because I'd like the little tip of his nose here to sit on top over the scarf, and then I would do the eyes, and then in the end I would just kind of fasten down any little corners or parts of the body. You can do the whole thing. I didn't necessarily feel like I needed to, but that's totally up to you. It depends on what kind of wear your item is getting. If it's a pillow, maybe it's going to get tossed around a bit more. So totally up to you. Again, I tend to leave quite long tails because I like to make sure that I don't run out, because I've had those situations where I've run out and I thought, oh man, I've got to start over. Or you have to attach a yarn and then there's a knot there. So you're going to thread your yarn needle. Okay, so just like that. If you have any issues, you can always just wet the bottom there if you need to, or just give it a good little twist. And then we're just going to put it through. And there you go. You're good to go. So I'm going to place my item. I'm just going to bring this down a bit more. I'm going to place my item in the position of where I want it. So I'm going to, actually I'm going to use my scarf to kind of gauge. So if I have my scarf there, yeah. So I actually want my belly to sit a little higher. So right around this ridge of 1, 2, 3, row 4, I am going to have him sitting just below those stitches there. Okay, so you can see a bit of the top of row 4 and a bit of the bottom. Alrighty, so now a lot of people will pin or safety pin this down to secure it, and I absolutely recommend it if you're a little nervous about things moving, or you know, you're unsteady. I don't tend to use pins just because I'm more of a freestyler kind of thing. I don't tend to use pins just because I don't feel that I need to for my own comfort. So I'm just going to hold this here for you guys to see. So how we're going to take this, how we're going to sew this, is you want to pick up a stitch from underneath, but try not to go all the way through. Just want to pick some up the top stitches there just underneath. So I'm picking up this one. And then I'm going to come through the back loop here of my circle there. And I'm just going to pull through, make it snug but not too tight. And now I'm going to go on to the next one just underneath here. I'm going to pick up the top stitch and I'm going to slip it through the back loop here. Now it's totally up to you if you want to do back loops, full loops, front loops. I tend to like just kind of the outer edges so it doesn't disrupt too much the line of the project. So again, I'm going to come through here just nicely underneath so it's hidden under, and I'm just going to go through that back loop there and pull it through. Okay, so again, I just keep going around, just gently finding the top loop there, pulling through and coming through. So you see it's sitting nicely. You can't really see where the stitches are from the front, and if you look at the back, you don't see any white coming through there. Okay, so I will do a few more. This is the basic gist for all of the appliques that you're putting on your penguin. So the technique is all the same. So again, I'm just folding this over so you can see. I'm going to find a loop. Now, for example, I wouldn't use this one up here because it's just too high. So I'll show you. If I do that, now you're really going to start seeing some blue coming in there. So I don't really like that. So I'm just going to take that out. So I always try and find a top loop somewhere just underneath the particular applique that I am sewing down. Okay, so again, instead of up here, as I rest my belly on there, I'm going to try and find something that's just underneath there. So for me, it's going to be this one here, and it's going to be hidden behind that back loop there. And there you have it. Now, of course, if I pull it like that, you're going to see where they're all meshing. But if I'm laying it flat, and generally speaking, when you pick it up, it looks fairly uniform. Okay? And then you can adjust it as you go. And you're going to sew it all the way around. I'm coming up to my last stitch or two here before I have to fasten off. So I'm just going to pick up that back loop there and come through. And I'm at the beginning now, so I'm just going to try and go into the loop closest to the one I started with and go back into that first back loop I went into, just to kind of give it a little bit of extra security. So there we have it. So it sits nicely, it's on its own, it's nice and flat, and the beautiful thing is you can't see anything on the back. Now, I've got this tail still left over. So what I want to do just to kind of secure it down is I will go into a couple of these white loops here. Oops. And then I'll weave it backward another time. It just helps it for the yarn to lock in. So I'll just kind of go on the outside here. Again, the great thing is it's all white, so you can't see too much. And I'll come, oh, it's being a little tricky here. There we go. Come around the outside. Again, you don't want to pull too tight because you'll stretch your stitches. So that's looking pretty good. And then I'm going to come back the other way. Usually 3 times a ziggy-zag is pretty good to secure down your stitches. And I'm just going to come up through here. And then what I'm going to do, I'm not going to leave this whole long thing, but I'm going to maybe just kind of dig in somewhere in this white and go right somewhere in the middle here. And that's where I'm going to leave a majority of my tail there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just snip my yarn, and then got this little tail here. I'm just going to gently kind of poke it through so I can get underneath the belly here. So I'm not going all the way to the back. I'm just poking it through here. And the reason why is because I just want to gently go up, take that tail, and just hook it in and hide it. And there you go. So there is our belly. Okay, that's sewing down our belly applique. So I'm going to let you go ahead and do the same thing for the scarf. Again, you know, you can, I guess, put it in different angles, but the way I designed this was just to sit nicely here. So the technique would be the same. Again, you can pin it down. I would start on this end here so it secures down that end, and then go along here, and then come down here and around and end up here. And then again, the technique for hiding some of those little tail ends is the same. So basically, I would probably start right about there. Again, the best thing to do, probably to pin this down if you're a little bit nervous about things shifting. And then start with the back loops there and continue on. So again, how I would recommend layering this is belly first, then scarf, then beak, because we want it to rest slightly over the scarf, okay? And the beak, again, match the top ridge here to the top ridge of that shell that we created. So the beak will sit right there very nicely with a little bit of the tip going over the scarf. And then totally up to you how you want to do the eyes, whether you want to bring them a little closer together or a little further apart. I liked mine a little further apart, so I would probably position them just slightly on either side of the beak there. And then once these other appliques are on, then I would go and just maybe secure down the point of the hat and the tips of these two wings here. You can, by all means, secure down the complete edge if you like. It's just your preference. So why don't you go ahead and do that, and then we will have our finished penguin. And here we have it, the penguin square with all its appliques sewn onto it. And as you can tell, I've turned mine into a cute little decorative pillow. And I sewed this great little ruffle border around it using double crochet stitches. In fact, front post double crochet stitches. I will leave a link in the description box below on how I put the pillow together. It just gives you a little bit more of a detailed play-by-play. Again, you can turn this into a blanket. You can make multiple squares, different colors, different penguin colors like I did here, and create a nice, beautiful blanket. So there you have it, the penguin square. And we've got much more coming at you in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for some more fabulous stitch sessions. Bye.